Just like with access or something? Yeah, where's he working at? Okay.
He's gonna be like secondary progress, or you doing all do is just
Yeah.
there's no question to the C-section. I guess if they do, I know if they do.
Yeah, so,
Or you know where.
yeah, yeah. Well, since everybody got quiet, I'll go ahead and start the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Muller?
Here.
Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Ms. Kelly? Here, sorry. Mr. Buzzell?
Texting.
Mr. Peterman? Mr. Thompson?
Here.
Say the pledge to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everybody. What a great turnout tonight. This is awesome. First piece of business is I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the July 18th meeting.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Muller?
Aye.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Kelly? Mr. Buzzell?
Aye.
Mr. Peterman? Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Okay, we are to the section of visitors communication, and my first order of business is a fun one. I get to read a proclamation for that young lady right there. Okay, I will read the proclamation and I'll call you up here. Whereas we have gathered today to recognize Claire Ann Clokey and her dedication to the city of Fort Thomas as a volunteer and lifelong member of our community. And whereas Claire Ann has served on the Fort Thomas Board of Adjustment since November of 1991 and recently announced that she will be retiring from volunteer service from this board. And whereas Claire Ann is married to Pat Clokey, with whom they have had 3 sons that all attended St. Thomas Elementary and Newport Central Catholic. And whereas Claire Ann has served as president of the St. Thomas Mothers Club and also served on the Board of Education for both St. Thomas and Newport Catholic, and whereas Claire Ann is not serving her, when Claire Ann is not serving her community, she is an avid bridge player and enjoys the company of her 6 grandchildren. And whereas the city of Fort Thomas and residents will miss Claire Ann and her knowledge and experience on the Board of Adjustment, therefore I, Eric Haas, Mayor of the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim Monday, August 15th, 2016, be declared as Claire Ann Clokey Day. Congratulations. Thank you. Come on up. Got it. Give you the proclamation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for everything you've done for the city and for such a long time. And never complaining, just being there, helping us out. We really do
I was
appreciate
happy
it.
I could do it. Yeah,
Great,
thank you very
great,
much.
thanks. Oh, we want a picture.
And there's an extra copy.
Thank you very much.
And thanks for being with us here. That's great. I can't believe it. You have been involved such a long time, and it really is very much appreciated. I'm disappointed that you decided to retire.
I just thought maybe.
Sure, it's fault.
No. I really was glad to do what I did up here, and it was very nice to me when, you know, it was looking. So, thank you very much.
So thanks for doing it. Really appreciate it. Another round. Thank you. And thanks for sharing this. Okay. Appreciate it very much. Okay, next on the agenda is what?
Terry Rash.
Terry Rashi. Terry, you're going to talk about something. Preservation presentation.
Well, that's a hard act to follow. I'm Terry Rash, I live in Woodlawn, but I participate in a group called Progress with Preservation. This group's been in effect or been together since October of 2006. And we got together in response to threats of demolition of historic architecture in Covington. The group merged with, it was called Historic Preservation of Northern Kentucky years ago, merged with the current organization. What we try to do is save the historic architecture of Northern Kentucky. It's not just Covington now, it's Northern Kentucky and the urban core. We've identified that there's a shortage of tradespeople, skilled tradespeople that deal with historic preservation properties. We know that the Home Builders Association, along with Boone County, have formed trades training organization, but new home construction and old home construction are two different animals. So what we're trying to do is we focused on approaching Gateway Community and Technical College we're going to propose that they have a curriculum or a program dealing with historic preservation, all the trades, like the masonry, the glass, the windows, special roofing and everything else. What I'm asking for tonight is some sort of a letter of support from Fort Thomas, because, you know, the City of Beautiful Homes has a historic architecture, and I'm sure it's hard to find craftspeople within this community who work. So hopefully, what we'll do is present this proposal we met with the new president of Gateway last week, and I've got copies for the city council people here, what the agenda was for this past meeting, and it gives you a synopsis of what we're trying to do, so I'll distribute those here in a second. But what I'd like is just a letter of support from Fort Thomas that we can propose to the new president and the board of directors of Gateway to at least study the idea. So cutting it as short as I can, that's...
Are you going to volunteer to be one of the instructors out there?
I probably will.
That's great.
I'm past retirement age, but I still have a backlog that I have to catch up with. And it's there are a lot of people that want to get their education and their expertise out there, so that, you don't lose these structures to
Absolutely.
demolition or
Right.
neglect. So,
Right.
But anyway, I'll give these copies to someone and they can distribute.
Is it, anybody in council have any questions? Or?
I'm just 100% in support of, and I think it's a great idea, and he makes a good point that it's a dying art, and
It is.
and it needs not to be. And so, yeah, anything we could do in support, I'm all for.
Is everybody else okay with that idea? Excellent.
Great.
You'll get
Thank
it.
you very much.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it very much. Thanks for everything you do for the community along those lines. Okay. Chief, I guess you have something else to do now? There's a whole lot of people here waiting for it.
That guy in the front row there,
Okay.
he's kind of waiting patiently.
Take it away.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. Thank you, Mr. Dell. Tonight's a fun night also for the police department. Recently, Sergeant Chris Goshorn finally decided that he was going to hang it up after 21 years. And he retired a few weeks back. And back in 2014, we had a very competitive process for our sergeant's exam. There were 10 candidates that went through the process back then. And I tell you, everybody that went through it, it was really close among the whole group. They competed well. And this guy, he did very well throughout that whole process. And that's why we're here tonight. Because we're going to be promoting him to sergeant. We already have, but we're going to make it official tonight with the pinning of his badge and his sergeant stripes on his collar. But, William has been with us since 2003. He came from Southgate. He's married to Kelly. They have 3 boys, and they live here in the city. William has always filled leadership roles within our police department over the years. He's been an FTO for many years. He's trained many of our officers, and he's so professional, so good at that job that it's good to have him in that position. He's been on day shift for the last 6 years. And I can tell you, it's a pleasure to have a guy like him on day shift. He's just great for our community. He's great with the schools. He's great with the businesses. His personality with the residents. He's just got a professional personality, and he represents the police department very well. So tonight, I'd like to pin on his badge and congratulate him for all the years of service he's done for the city, and finally getting into the position of being promoted to sergeant.
Hey, that's awesome.
One of the things that William has done over the years, he's been on our crime scene team, and he has been one of our guys that always has run our our CSI class up at the middle school. And William's relationship with the teachers and the kids is just top notch. William's badge number will be 4315. And it's kind of comical because there's a guy on his shift that his badge is 4415, so I think there's going to be some problems. Casey, is there a window up, right?
What's that?
They could. They go up. He wasn't looking at it.
Does look great to me.
Great job. Is there anything you want to say?
You're on the spot.
First of all, Chief, thank you very much. It's an honor and privilege to be standing here, especially tonight, Mayor, Council. Again, thank you. Obviously, all the support back here, friends, family, even old colleagues showed up, and it means a lot. I appreciate you guys showing up so much. Thank you so much. Thank you again.
Great. Congratulations. Thank you so much, and thanks for being part of the city. That's great. Is there anyone else who would like to address council on any topic at this point? Yes, ma'am. Come on up, state your name and address, and
Thanks.
Sure.
Jen Palucci. I live at 1 Rosemont Avenue in Fort Thomas. I wanted to come up. I've talked to Mike and a couple other people about this. I moved to Rosemont a couple years ago, right on the corner across from the park, and there's 3 stop signs right by my house. On a daily basis, people are flying through them. I mean, every single day I could sit there and count the cars, and I know they've patrolled it, you know, and they'll sit there a while and they'll write a ton of tickets, and then as soon as they disappear, they're back again. When school starts, kids are on their way to school, people are on their way to work. I'm literally right outside my driveway is a stop sign, and I can look out my kitchen window and people tap and just go. Some don't even tap. I don't know what the solution is. It's not that they're speeding up and down the hill. They're just really running all those stop signs, and they're, like I said, they're all right by the park. I'm just, you know, being the concerned, noisy citizen that's new in the neighborhood, trying to look for some, I mean, you know, I've even offered to Mike, you want to put a stake out in my study, you got to move all 3 stop signs. And it's just, I mean, it's nonstop, you know. I've almost gotten hit twice, you know, when I've come off of West Southgate to Strathmore to turn to park in front of my house. The folks coming down the street that aren't stopping at the stop sign, I'm turning left with my signal and they don't stop at that stop sign, so I've almost gotten hit when they're just going up the street to head to Memorial, and, you know.
so it's the one coming down into the T where they're
Really, all
running through,
3.
all 3 of them?
Yeah, Probably not so much the one across the street from me, right in front of the park.
Okay.
But right at my driveway and certainly across the street on Strathmore. And there are times, I mean, I can be in the house, and like I said, I have a good vantage point, so I can see them coming down the hill. They don't stop at the one by my driveway. They go up to West Southgate, they don't stop there. They turn right and they go on Memorial, and then I hear them gun it once they get to Memorial, you know. So I don't, you know, they're not speeding down the street, so I don't think it's something that we need, you know, those speed humps up and down West Southgate like there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kind of wanted to bring it to council's attention because it's really every day. It's not just every once in a while you see somebody run the stop sign. At one point, my 9-year-old had a tally sheet and was sitting on the front porch, and on one side he had a little police car, and the other side was a smiley face, and if they stopped, he put a check in the smiley face. It's that bad. So, you know.
Well, I appreciate you
Just
bringing
bring
that
it to-
to our attention. Chief, are you aware of the situation? Do you have any ideas or recommendations? or-
Yes, Jen and I went with the high school, so we know each other really, really well. And when she moved in there back in, I think, 2014, we had talked, Jen and I and Rich, and we did some details there as far as being stationary. And we are seeing that where it's just a very interesting traffic dynamic because you have 2 three-way stops within seconds of each other. And in the morning time, it's very heavy because of obviously people going to work, but also the school traffic significantly kicks in during the school season. So we see a lot more cars that are obviously in violation of going through the stop signs.
I remember when I grew up, there was a stop sign in the middle of, I forget what the street is. Anyway, there was a stop sign in the middle of this, and people would just roll through that. Is it possibility that it becomes not a three-way but a one-way? That you remove 2 stop signs and let the cross traffic be stopped? I'm just kind of thinking out of the box
I'm
here.
just going from memory, but if my recollection is correct, that was actually brought to the city at some point in the last 20 years.
To say, put stop signs there
Exactly, and stop
because of
signs
the
were added.
speeding?
Yes.
Okay.
The only other thing I thought was not the speed humps all the way down the street, but if there's one of those a little before the stop sign, they have to stop at the stop sign, otherwise you're going to tear your car up by not stopping if you're flying over that hump. You know, they're not speeding, like I said, it's just that, you know, they don't stop. I mean, and I'd carpool with somebody that lives up on West Southgate, and typically I would drop the younger kids off and then make my way back home, and I'd stand in my driveway waiting for her, and it doesn't matter if I'm standing there. They just fly by,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Okay, well, I
I think we're
appreciate you
just
bringing it to our
gonna probably give them
attention.
more.
Chief,
Yeah.
look at it some more, and if there's some ideas about what could be done, whether, I mean, I know, you know, complete stop, there's some signs you can post there. I don't know if that would do any good, or little rumble strips right before the stop sign, or
That might be
are there white lines across there identifying the fact that there are stop signs there?
Yes, I believe, yes. I was just there today taking a look at it. I think there is, yeah.
They also run, if you go up Strathmore and Holly, they run that all the time too. I don't know
The
if you've
stop
noticed
sign in the
that.
middle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're lucky if anybody pauses. It is
I
pretty.
think at night it's worse too.
Yeah.
Like if I'm on the porch, I sit out a lot, and if they're coming down, because I think Rich even talked about trying to put a light, a street light over on that corner, but there's the reason
No
it's
place
not
to
there
put
is
it.
because there's no place to put it, there's no
Right.
electric or whatever.
Right.
But because it's kind of dark and there's trees all around, if they don't see anybody around, they'll just zip right on and go up Strathmore too.
Well,
So-
I'm glad to hear you say that it's really not a speed. It's very difficult to speed in that section because of the
you
way the
know,
street is and the
I think it's more
parked
that they're
cars.
just, you know, they're getting momentum coming down the street, but
Right.
before they go back up, instead of stopping, they just kind of keep going.
Yeah, trying to improve
So-
gas mileage, seeing you when they
Right
roll
there,
through
that
and
is
keep going
true.
fast.
But then the other thing is that we have skateboarders that like to ride in the street because it's smooth, and they'll be coming down Rosemont and they turn to go up Strathmore, and if you don't stop,
Yeah,
and there's a
you're gonna
kid
hit 'em.
coming,
Right. Okay.
I don't want to see somebody get hit, obviously, so.
Appreciate you bringing it to our attention.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Please to look at it some more and see if we can come up with some ideas.
Great.
All right, great, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else like to address council? Okay. Well, we will move ahead. You're all welcome to stay, and if you don't want to hang out, like Terry, you want to sneak out, go ahead. Thanks a lot, Terry, appreciate it. Yes, you all are welcome to stay or leave, whatever you like. Thank you, Claire Ann, appreciate it. All right, we'll move ahead to reports of officers. Fire Department monthly report. Chief Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor Hoss and members of the Board of Council. A couple things just in regard to the monthly report that was sent out for July of 16. I just wanted to kind of draw your attention to the couple things there in the back of it, the attachments. The first photo is one that, again, we talked a little bit about with the placement of a AED at the soccer field, and had the opportunity with Greg Mounts and Matt Haskamp and myself to do that during the month of July to ensure a little bit extra safety down there, and in regard to having an automated external defibrillator. Again, talked to Mr. Dill, and we thought it was a good idea, and of course, Fort Thomas Schools purchased it. We helped them get it, and also locate where we're going to place it there in their facility that's down there. It'll be down there because that field is used year-round. And we also found out that day through Greg Mounts, who's in the, I guess, the reserves, that the reserves use that field for their physical training. So we're going to work out where they've got the code to get into that building if they need to use that AED, because it will keep it there basically year-round and make sure that it's it's there. So again, just a real nice effort on everybody's part, kind of a collaborated effort there to ensure a little extra safety again and on our fields there. The next picture basically is nearing the end of Captain Parker's retirement. We obviously went up today for grilling for Tim with Dan and Flo Gray in the park, and I had a great time up there. So I want to get a shift picture of shift 3 there before Captain Parker left. And again, also just a letter. The last page is just a letter from residents, again thanking us for what we do. And again, we're privileged and honored to do that day in and day out for the citizens of Fort Thomas. Of course, you're going to later on there in on the agenda handle I think 5 executive orders for things that have been going on in the fire department. We're really excited about, and we'll have those ceremonies at your September 6th meeting. And so we have a good crowd there for some promotions, 3 promotions, and also our 2 new hires that are coming on board actually on August 29th. So just some things that's going on in the fire department. We remain very busy and active. And again, I'll be glad to field any questions that council might have regarding either the monthly report or the fire department in general.
Great, thanks, Chief. Any questions?
Move to receive and file.
Thank you, Mayor.
Second.
Is there a second? Roll call.
Mr. Mueller?
Aye.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Beazle?
Aye.
Mr. Peterman? Mr. Thompson?
Awesome, thank you. Okay, Police Department monthly report. Chief Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, council members. I just wanted to comment on 2 things in the monthly report. The first being under recognition. I just wanted to highlight that Officer Nick Kaufman did receive the 2006 Governor's Occupant Protection Enforcement Award. Nick and I went down for a lunch, and he received his award. It was a very nice ceremony. And the second thing I wanted to comment on, it's in the investigative report, is the fact that we continue to have a rash of car break-ins throughout the city in various locations. It's just not specific to Fort Thomas. It's all the neighboring cities within Campbell County. It's also going into Kenton County and Boone County and across the river. They've even seen some trends across the river. They're getting in unlocked cars. People are leaving their keys in their car, and they're taking the cars, which we saw that trend about 4 years ago when we had 6 cars stolen within a 1-month period. So the only thing the police department wants to stress to our citizens is to lock your cars, secure your cars, bring all personal items such as your keys in with you, and then sheds, anything within the backyard or your garage, make sure everything's secure. Other than that, that's all I have. If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Are all of the break-ins unlocked cars or most of them unlocked cars?
They've all been unlocked. they've all been unlocked. There's no force, so if we can distress.
Maybe if we did an ordinance that said if you're gonna leave your car unlocked, you have to put a placard in the windshield that says, "My car is unlocked.
Yes.
Please break it."
Yes.
I mean, that's just common sense, but.
Yes.
I know. Executive order. What's that?
Executive order.
Executive order, yes.
Can we get that done tonight?
I understand people like the idea of living in a community that they feel safe in, that they don't feel like they need to lock their houses or the car, but it doesn't take that much to do it, especially with electronic cars and beepers and things now. It's not that hard to do.
And they're very frustrating cases for our detectives because they're very hard to solve.
Sure, because
Because if you don't catch the bad guys in the act of actually doing the car break-ins within your community, if you get caught in another community, there's a great chance they're only going to confess to what took place
Right.
at that time when they got caught. So it is very frustrating.
And if they're not braking, they're just opening the car door, even if somebody's watching them, they're gonna assume that that's the person's car
Yeah.
because they just opened the door. Well, that's a tough one. Oh, well. Sounds like a story for Fort Thomas Matters. Lock your car. Okay. Thank you, Chief. Any other questions for the Chief?
Move to receive and file.
A second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Mueller?
Aye.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Kelly? Mr. Beazle? Mr. Freeman? Mr. Thompson?
Okay, City Administrator's report. Ron?
I just had a couple of things really to update. In the memo, I made some reference, our street program is on schedule, which is always good news, considering that we work around utilities, the water district this year. We'll thank Tim Mattingly for kind of pushing them down the street quickly to stay on schedule, but they're finally completed. Our crews are doing curb work on Gaddis, and when that is complete, we'll be able to turn our program over to our resurfacing contractor. So that should occur in mid-September, which is a prime time to actually do that type of work and get your best job. So we're happy about that. At our last meeting here at council, you approved an agreement with the Fort Thomas Independent School District who had petitioned about Highland Park. They actually approved that agreement as well at their last board meeting. So we're proceeding with the Highland Park project. In fact, we met all of them there today to cover where we start and the first things for that project. So that one will move, I'd say quickly, it'll move swiftly as our schedule allows. So there'll be some demolition of the fencing and so forth that'll take place, and that'll be the first step. The only other thing that I had to report really, the bridge culvert on Waterworks Road was let out, that contract was let. That's just outside the city of Fort Thomas, but it obviously affects our traveling public. That one coupled with the Memorial Parkway Bridge over 471, which is on schedule to be open, which is also good news. Waterworks.
It's tomorrow, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, but
Yes.
it got delayed
Just a little bit, yeah.
by a week,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Mark, doesn't it delay a week? Are you aware of the? Memorial.
Yeah, that'll be between the 20th and 25th.
So it may only be a couple of days.
It might.
It looks like all they have to do is the side thing that they're, everything else looks done.
They're close, and that's actually a good schedule, and they stayed on schedule, so that's, I mean, that was a
has
big
been
project. It's quite an inconvenience.
Yeah.
But they stay on close schedule for a project that large and of that magnitude. They did pretty well with that. But Waterworks will remain closed until that culvert's completed by the end of this calendar year. So that's a little longer project.
I'm glad they put the detour signs up. It's only been closed since the winter.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, now I know how to get there. Sorry,
That's all
I
right.
just thought that was funny.
I don't have anything else to report unless council had any other questions.
What's the update on the, I've had some contact with the residents regarding the crosswalk identification things,
Okay, where we are with that, and
especially the school starting.
yeah,
and
I'll
so
try to
forth.
condense this as well as I can. We have continued to work with the Department of Transportation, and I think I've reported in the past that that's not an accepted signage under state regulation. And most of the locations that we've identified are actually on state route. So anything in front of the high school, the middle school, and anything in our central business districts, et cetera. The only locations that we've identified that we really had a desire to move forward with outside of that approval was Moyer and potentially Johnson. Through this process, we have learned that there are multiple types of signage, and the most current one that's identified and recognized is actually a beacon type of signage, where it has an alternating beacon that is situated between the crosswalk emblem and the arrow that's situated below that sign. And that alternating beacon seems to have become the standard. So rather than putting the alternating lights around the perimeter of the sign, we held off making sure that we're meeting that standard. So we bid that work, and one of the bidding companies, TAPCO, actually has a state contract for signage with the Department of Transportation, and they were one of our bidders to purchase those signs. They indicated that they had a state contract for the actual beacon portion because they use that with other types of signage. So that is an accepted standard. So what we've done is, rather than purchase something that's going to be obsolete, we've waited to purchase any of them until we get approval for the ones on the state route. We've currently submitted all that information to the district office. They're sharing that with their central office. And then hopefully we get an approval process that allows us to get all of those at the same time.
So we may be able to just buy the beacon and just lower the arrow sign and stick it in the middle?
Right, we would be purchasing the beacon to be situated with the signage, but the signage really honestly would not change.
Right.
It would just be an addition to that. But the alternating signalization does require approval from the Department of Transportation because it's within the right of way.
Well, it was a comment on social media, and there was a lot of comments from residents. And I don't think it's that people are bad people. I'm not sure everyone knows that when someone's standing in the crosswalk, you're supposed to stop and allow them to proceed. I've experienced with my daughter with a baby carriage, with strollers.
A lot of people have a false sense of security because they're in the crosswalk. They think, I'm in the crosswalk.
Right.
You know, and they don't, you know.
So it's a little bit of a growing concern of people, I think. So,
Yeah.
Well,
anything we could do to.
And I'll couple that with a more recent thing, and I think the chief would echo this as well. And I witnessed this from the office here in the city building, is a little bit of that. And I said at the outset that it would take an educational process for our public, even when they're installed, as to the exact nature of what that means. And there has to be a mindset in the community about what that means.
Yeah.
A recognition of crosswalks. The secondary thing is, our emergency vehicles pull in to return to the station, and I constantly see cars not yield to them. They have the lights on right here in front of the city building, and just last week, one of them swerved into the other lane, and the car coming forward had to honk the horn, and our people hit the sirens because they just continued right at the, and so we hope to address that at this stage as well. And I don't know what the answer there, again, mostly a mindset of your citizens. Just, not respecting the fact that they have lights on and that they're, trying to maneuver large vehicles of emergency equipment.
Well, we're a community that's so caring about everything, and this is pretty big, this is really,
And the scary part, this is another great article for Fort Thomas Matter. I mentioned this before, but you were out of the room. The other one was about locking your cars. I joked about passing an ordinance that said if you're going to leave your car unlocked, you have to put a placard in the windshield that says, "My car's unlocked, please rob me." We know people in the city think this is a safe area and they feel like they can leave their car unlocked, but they need to lock their cars. But the thing about the crosswalks that scares me, there have been a couple of times when I have purposely not stopped, especially coming down the avenue. The people were watching, and they were waiting to see if I was going to stop, because the car coming on the other side of me, I could tell was not going to stop. So I start slowing down, getting ready to stop. This car is barreling down. I don't want the person walking in front of me. So I start inching forward so the person in the crosswalk doesn't go in front and get hit.
I frequently just take both lanes
I
to
do
make
too.
sure the other one's there. I'll go right in the middle and not near stop.
I've walked that.
Perfect.
Probably shouldn't do that.
But the idea behind the beacon's not gonna go on unless somebody is there trying to
There's an
cross.
activation button that would allow them to initiate that beacon and cause that alternating.
Because to me, that's the critical part, because like the one in front of Highlands and the other school.
right now.
Moyer, it's always flashing. But that doesn't mean anything to people, because it's always flashing.
color is the one?
It's yellow,
Yellow?
Yeah.
the one that hangs over the street, right?
No, I'm talking about.
No, the other ones are alternating with yellow.
It's like 2/5 size,
LED bar, now they're LED bar.
yeah.
Instead of the perimeter of the sign, the perimeter of the sign had little LEDs on it. And that's what Ron's talking about. When
But it's yellow and the thing red is stop.
But crosswalks aren't, I don't believe. Crosswalks are pretty well always yellow.
can always get some
So that
spray
code,
paint.
that uniform code that's not uniform in Kentucky.
So what would be the added cost?
Just put a Judy or at least on that.
Surprisingly,
It's probably cheaper than the other one.
no, the cost is similar to the other one, and they're like $6,000 per crosswalk.
No way, how much?
Way.
Are you kidding me?
That's one on each side.
That's
And the
that's
solar
on each side
and the call. That's all.
for the entire installation.
Oh, so that's a solar powered system?
Yes, those are all solar
So,
systems.
and call buttons, okay.
And so they have a state contract, are these fairly, are they, I haven't seen, I don't think I've ever seen one. Actually, are they, somewhat more common use than I'm thinking?
Not for crosswalks. They're recognized with other types of signage.
Yeah.
Okay.
But not for crosswalks. And that's the portion that's left out of the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control, that's a national standard, is identification with crosswalk signage. That's the part that's not accepted and the Department of Transportation in Kentucky.
Is there an option?
And that's why we have to petition specifically for that. So they want to know information, and we provided them with information about locations, frequency of use, the best that we can, those types of things. And they can approve them on an individual request basis at this point. And so that's what we've petitioned for.
If regular power is readily available, is there an option to not get the solar part, and is there savings there? I mean, if there's power in a lot of these locations already in the ground.
Right. They're all wireless and they're solar powered. I think that's mostly what we've looked at. There's an additional cost to run power to them, even though we have.
One time.
Right, but
it's a lot
connecting all of
greener.
them would take underground utility connection for all of them.
So that probably costs just as much or more.
Oh, I'm certain of that.
I know we've talked about this a lot over the years. I know Bellevue put up the signs
Cones.
that says state law, stop, and I like that. And people need to know to stop, and I think they should. I remember, this was back when Jeff Earlywine was here, one of the first times my wife and I went down to Nassau in the Bahamas. And they've got signs out there at the crosswalk that says if you want to cross, you put your hand out like this. And they show a little person putting your hand out, and by God, everybody stops. You just stick your hand out and everybody stops and you walk across. And it was so cool. It's like, why don't we do that here? I mean, why don't people stop when people do crosswalks?
It's rude.
It's an education process, it really is.
It is an education process, and I think when we are able to initiate it, I think there's an important component of that going to be a lot of education and awareness to our public that that's an actual standard and that there should be compliance with that standard. We've looked at the temporary signings that you referred to in Bellevue, which cost over $600 a piece, by the way.
Those things do?
Yes. And
It's another state contract, they'll pay you. They got hammers too.
the difficulty with those obviously is, they're portable and they tend to be, relocated in various ways, either by person or by vehicle. Placing them and leaving them doesn't have the same impact as kind of putting them and removing them and putting them back. They gather more attention that way. And obviously, they also represent an obstruction within the street boundaries, which is oftentimes difficult, although they're breakaway. So maybe in conjunction with our initial efforts, that might be worthy of consideration as well.
Well, I think it fits because we're a city of walkers, and people on the sidewalks and out and walking, and when we get ready to do that, I think a major educational thrust would be great.
I agree.
When will our next visioning session be, I wonder?
Actually, we are working toward that, hopefully, at our meeting in September. We've had some conversation, the mayor and I have had conversation with several outside resources, and we think that we'll be in a position to bring somebody in to kind of help lead that discussion a little bit. So getting them on board for our September meeting is kind of our goal.
Okay.
Yeah, our second September.
I'm getting antsy about it too. Yeah.
Okay, good.
So we have some outline for them and then a proposal from them, so we'll be working toward that in September.
Great.
All right, we are down, is that the end of your report?
That's all I have, unless somebody has anything else.
Okay, new business, bids for waterworks pier walls. I thought we just redid those. Or is this in a different place?
No, we approved these in our street program for 2016, but we did not bid them with our street program.
Oh, okay.
And what we did is we actually waited, Waterworks Road is high on our list for consideration for resurfacing. In advance of that, we do have two areas that have some obvious slide conditions. We've had 4 other pier wall projects on Waterworks Road through the last 30 years. These are adjacent, these particular 2 locations are adjacent to previous ones. So we bid those out with the hopes that we would get competitive bidding out of season for the major construction season, because you can really do the pier walls at any point in time. So we did bid them separately, and you can see our bid rep. We had 5 bidders that range from $79,394.50 to $183,644. The good news is we had 5 bidders, obviously a considerable range. The good news is the $79,000 low bid did come from a reputable contractor, Smith Construction, and it is below our engineer's estimate, which was $97,500. So we have a really good bid. We feel like we have a good contractor. That time frame would be completion, I believe, at the end of this calendar year. So it's a fall project for Smith, and we would recommend approval of that bid.
So you need a motion to that effect?
I do.
I would move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion or questions?
Is that what you say is fell in the budget that we've discussed?
Okay.
Yes, our engineer's estimate was $97,500, so we're actually below the estimate, and that was the only one below.
Oh, interesting.
Out of the 5, so.
Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Muller?
Aye.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Weasel?
Aye.
Mr. Peterman? Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Okay, consideration of an agreement with SD1, private sewer lateral repair program. Oh, yeah.
You had attached an agreement proposal with SD1, and it was actually less than a year ago that we approved this same lateral program. And in the fiscal year for SD1, they actually have modified this program. If you recall, I gave an explanation last year was a departure from the original programming that required the city to participate with any cost and physical reconstruction of any part underneath the street, sidewalk, driveway within the right-of-way. And that cost was borne by the municipality or the county government. In our case, obviously, the city. And this year, they've actually funded that program with the intention that they would now cover those costs again. So they basically reverted back to what the original project was. So that's actually good news, and obviously staff would say, let's sign this agreement as opposed to the last one. And just a note, we did have 3 laterals repaired in under that last program. So that's kind of, just to give you a feel, in the last year, we had 3 residential repairs in Fort Cummings.
I know this was a big topic, and a lot of the cities were upset when they SD1 said they weren't going to cover this part anymore. I know that they had the Campbell County Mayor's meeting a couple of months ago had a representative from SD1 there, and there's a lot of people, especially Newport, the River Cities area, that had real concerns about them not reimbursing the cost of doing that. So I don't know where they found the money to do it, but they're taking it back up again, so that's a good thing. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So you need action on that?
Yes, the action would be to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement proposed from SD1.
Oh, cool.
So moved. Oh, okay, go ahead. Moved and seconded.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Muller?
Aye.
Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Beazle?
Aye.
Mr. Peterman?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
All right, bids for city entrance signs.
We did accept closed bids in July for the entrance signs, and I will point out that this design and, detail of this proposed signage has been a work in progress for a couple of years. Our Renaissance Board's been involved mainly with this. They've used outside resources. They've had conversation with our design review board. So this is the final design that was created. We did put that out for bid. Ellesmere, is it Ellesmere Ironworks? Yeah, is the company that provided a bid for this. Obviously, it's a specialized type of design and completion project. There's 8 signs within that bid structure, totaling $26,883.92 is their bid. There's 2 different types of signs, there's 4 of each. One is and I think you have a picture of it in the design of it. Some are a little bit shorter in height, and then secondarily, some of them provide for an opportunity to put panels below them at certain entrances into the city. So this was an initiative and a carryover item from previous budgets that is now complete, and we bid it out.
My biggest concern, if we want to talk about, is the temporary panels that would be installed. I would hope we would find that's not in this bid, for the temporary panels that would change. I'd hope they would be of a consistent quality, where it didn't look like a junky panel that you put in for this event that was next week. We find some kind of consistent source with a consistent background and font and everything to be used.
Yes, and I think the intention here would be that they're more traditional type events in the city, more city-sponsored events, for example, Merchant Music, the 4th of July, and where dates are maybe changing, but the signage could be a little more permanent.
So this is not sponsored
No.
panels?
No.
And we won't offer that to anybody other than city events for...
Correct.
Good.
So farmers markets, or art around town, merchant music, any event, concerts, those types of things would be advertised.
No illumination, I take it?
At this point, we haven't, included that as an option with the illumination.
Okay.
We'll be looking at all those things, although there is the intention to to work with other groups and/or the city, providing landscaping and accented walls around some of the locations where it's appropriate to do that.
Thanks.
So it says wrought iron semi-black,
Yes.
and is it painted? I mean, is the city, is that, any of that painted? Tower? Can't tell from looking.
Yes.
it's laser
I think
cut.
it's all laser cut and it's black.
The whole thing will be solid.
That's my understanding, yes.
I'm disappointed we only got one bid. Is that by design?
There's not, I don't know.
Did we send it out to more than one
Oh,
place?
absolutely, yes.
And nobody else bid?
Correct. Yeah, it's always nice to have multiple bids and know that you're in a competitive environment. But, it's a little specialized, and I'm just not certain there's an appetite out there for certain companies to take it on unless they originate the design and so forth, so.
I don't have a problem with proceeding with this, but I like Joe's idea from when he was here at the last thing about taking this same design and putting it up on Holland Avenue. I think that would be awesome.
We're gonna get our crosswalks first, though.
Crosswalks and then that. Okay. All right.
This price looks really good compared to the prices I heard on those the crosswalk stuff.
Yeah, that's true. It's cheaper than the crosswalk.
Maybe we should put beacons on it.
Double the price.
I mean, this is obviously a lot different than the little metal signs we have now with just the logo on it. I think it's kind of neat showing off the tower and,
And we had the redwood signage, which was an effort, gosh, it's been a number of years, but they've faded. They're susceptible more so than this to the types of vandalism. I mean, the one we had on River Road, you could almost count the days before it was gone or hit.
Yeah.
So that one was never sustainable.
well, the neat thing about metal, wrought iron, is as it ages, it still looks cool. It doesn't look, I mean, you can come back and paint it, but as it ages, it makes it look even more historic, I think, so.
There's a
Kinda cool.
lot of our gateways that wouldn't accommodate that kind of a width of a footprint, so we still have to go with what,
Yeah, we'll still have a combination. These will be obviously in locations where there's a little more space.
you need more than 5 feet.
Right.
And Public Works will install these?
We will do the installation, yes.
I'd move to concur if it's time.
Sure. Someone say. Any other further discussion, questions?
Is there a way to get other bids? Or does this fall in line with what you were thinking for, I mean, $26,000 for signs, but granted it's metal?
And it's 8 signs, I mean, so you're looking at $3,000, $4,000 a piece, I guess.
Oh, that helps. Seriously, that.
I mean, signage
I didn't
is
look
very
at the numbers.
expensive.
I mean,
I mean,
it works.
Yeah. I mean,
That sounds much better than, especially with the kind of steel they're making it out of and the laser cut stuff.
and in this bid and in this contract, they will produce a sign, and then we will authorize construction of the remainder, once we see
Oh, cool, yeah.
essentially a mock-up of the sign.
Can we all see it?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Do they come with insurance in case somebody runs into it?
No, that's a separate charge.
That's our,
They can put big coil springs at the bottom. So if somebody hits it, it goes down like this and comes slapping back
I know
up.
somebody who makes springs, so.
That's right. All right, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Mueller? Aye. Mr. Bowman?
Aye.
Ms. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Beazle?
Aye.
Mr. Peterman? Mr. Thompson?
Aye.
Cool, okay, Finance Committee report on disbursements.
Report of disbursements July 19th through August 15th, 2016. General Fund, $329,610.15. Tower Park Fund, $6,225.92. Public Works KDOT Fund, $27,125.72. Reoccurring Debt Service Fund, $1,140.88. CPD Revitalization, $19,789.05. Waste fees, $141,799.86. Police and Fire Pension Fund, $1,871.23. Total, $527,562.81. We, the undersigned members of the Finance Committee, recommend that warrants number 302284 through 302515 be approved and the treasurer be authorized to issue checks for their payment. Mr. Mueller, chairperson. Mr. Peterman, member. Ms. Kelly, member.
Move to concur.
Second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, sorry. She wanted to, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Mueller.
Aye.
Mr. Bowman.
Aye.
Ms. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Beazle.
Aye.
Mr. Peterman. Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Municipal Order MO-09-2016.
Municipal Order MO-09-2016, a municipal order declaring city-owned personal property, vehicles, and equipment as surplus and authorizing the city administrative officer to solicit public bids for their sale.
We had the list in here, didn't we?
We reviewed.
Okay.
I would move to approve after review, after we have.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussions or questions? Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Mueller.
Aye.
Mr. Bowman.
Aye.
Ms. Kelly.
Aye.
Mr. Beazle.
Aye.
Mr. Coleman.
Aye.
Mr. Thompson.
Aye.
All right, we go.
Crown Vics in there.
Crown Vics.
There's three Crown Vics around. Crown Vics are going to be in demand.
They are. They don't make them
I
anymore.
know, it was in the process.
They might get high business. You can bid for it. Okay, start reading the executive orders. We had a bunch of
Okay, we
them.
do. Executive Order EO9, 2016, an executive order appointing Tammy Webster as a captain for the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky Fire Department and fixing her compensation for the 2016-2017 fiscal year. Executive Order EO10, 2016, an executive order appointing Rick Daugherty as a lieutenant for the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky Fire Department and fixing his compensation for the 2016-2017 fiscal year. Executive Order EO11, 2016, an executive order appointing Eric Scherpenberg as a lieutenant for the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky Fire Department and fixing his compensation for the 2016-2017 fiscal year. Executive Order EO12, 2016, an executive order appointing William Hunt as a sergeant for the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky Police Department and fixing his compensation for the 2016-2017 fiscal year. Executive Order EO13, 2016, an executive order appointing Michael Strady as a probationary firefighter paramedic grade 3B for the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky Fire Department and fixing his compensation for the fiscal year. Executive Order EO14, 2016, an executive order appointing Brandon Fromeyer as a probationary firefighter paramedic grade 3B for the City of Fort Thomas, Campbell County, Kentucky Fire Department and fixing his compensation for the fiscal year.
That was awesome. You did that so fast. That was really good. All right. Is there any other, anybody have any other issues to bring up? Yes.
Just note, we do have our hearing on the 1st.
Oh, yeah.
At 6 PM, and our next, we do have an extra meeting in September, so we'll see you all on Tuesday after Labor Day, because of the holiday.
Could you explain the mechanics of the hearing? I read it, but I didn't
sorry.
quite.
The tax hearing?
Joe's,
Just public hearing. We don't have to be there, but we can be there on September 1st. And yes, I guess you run the meeting?
Yes.
And who else is here?
Melissa.
You too.
It's a little bit of an oddity and just timing.
It seemed like it.
They're very restricted by statute as to when you advertise and then conduct an actual hearing. So it's outside of our regular meeting schedule that was prepared and advertised at the beginning of the year, our meeting dates.
So this is a hearing to review what's already been approved, basically, or?
No, this
or
is a
what's
tax
projected?
rate hearing, which normally we did right before one of the meetings in September before, but now KRS says we gotta have it a week before or something?
There's a few years where it just falls, and we've had to do this in the past, where it just falls outside of that 7-10 day period to hit your meeting schedule.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so
that's
you
what it
actually have to
was.
conduct the hearing within that time frame for advertising, because our advertising is in a weekly, and it appears on a Thursday, 7 days and not more than 10, kind of limits where you can place your meeting schedule, so.
And
The
then
fact that it's a holiday and it goes to Tuesday doesn't help us either, so.
So we'd have the public hearing, and then if there are any comments there, that will come to council at the first meeting
As the
on
record, correct.
on the 6th, is that what it is?
September 6th is Tuesday, yes.
And then we would have a second reading on the 3rd,
September
the
19th.
19th.
Will we be distributed minutes of that?
Yes, we'll have
Hearings
We'll have
prior.
an entire record for.
That'll come in our packet, won't
Yes.
it? Okay.
I mean, I don't remember anybody ever, the only person I ever remember attending one of those was somebody from Southgate, so,
Yeah.
and that's kind of a fun story.
Okay.
Yes, I'm there.
The other issue, I forgot about the question. Did we answer the questions? Everything good on that? Halloween. We're getting questions about Halloween. When do I want to do Halloween? It's Monday, it's on Monday, the 31st. We normally try to make it be the same as all the other cities, and most cities tend to be going on Halloween, like 6 to 8 on Halloween. Is everybody good with that?
What are our public safety? What's best for you?
I think in the past, we've always did the 6 to 8. It was fun.
Okay.
I wouldn't be against it at 7:30.
That's great.
I think it adds to the element.
Fringe or whatever. the
Well, home days, that's a long holiday.
Stuck at my house till 8 o'clock. Okay.
Or you could just put out a bowl.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
So is everybody good with 6 to 8 on Halloween?
Yep.
All right. Now, if everybody else starts doing it on Sunday, do we want to change or just leave it on Monday?
I always like Sunday best anyway, but I lost that battle a long time ago.
It was always about trying to keep them all the same for all the cities.
Also, it's something to do with when the Bengals played.
Is it a home game?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it is a home game. It's
Monday night football or Sunday night? Sunday night.
It's, no, it's a 12:30 game? Well, 1 o'clock, I guess. Washington Redskins at Cincinnati
On Sunday or Monday?
on Sunday.
You got to that awfully quick.
Right here. Hey Siri, what game is it?
Exactly.
All right, anything else? Great, thanks everybody. Great meeting.